Okay, so we have a 488 out of a 95 Ranger. This is the limited slip or posi lock. I don't know what they call it, but 28 spline. I'm just gonna run the 28, see how this holds up. We can always go to a 31 later and upgrade all this stuff. But what I have to do is narrow this to match this, like you see commonly done. So you will need to shave off all your brackets. In my case, I will. Maybe not in yours, but in mine, I will, because I'm going to be doing a 4-link setup. So in order to start this process, I'm taking out the axle on the long side, which will be this side. And what you need to do is there's this pin that runs all the way through here, right? There's an 8mm bolt right here. So you're gonna wanna take it out, and this pin will slide out. And then once you have that pin out, you will be able to push the axle in from this side ever so slightly, and you'll be able to get to this C-clip, which you can kind of see down in there. See if I can point to it. Right there, you can see the curve of the C-clip there, and you'll be able to pull that out, because that pin that runs through the center keeps the axles from going in too far. So go ahead and do that, and you've successfully will have removed your axle. That's what it's gonna look like when you get it out. I just held it like this, put my hand underneath it while I was loosening it up, and then just push it up with your fingers, it slides right out. So, okay, now you can see it. So you can either push it down through the bottom. I don't know if it'll make it past the center. Whoop. Keep holding the camera all jacked up. Okay, there it is. You can see the splines of the axle and then the C-clip. I'm gonna try and rotate it around so I can pull it out through the top, or you can push it through the bottom and fish it out with a magnet, but we'll try and do it to the top. So I'm not showing you the full process here, but once you take that C-clip out, the axle slides right out. So you can, I'm probably gonna put a rag or something in there. Now's the time to replace all your bearings and all that jazz, but right now I'm just gonna focus on getting it all narrowed, and I'll take this backing plate off and this, what you want to call the rest of this drum setup off, and then I'm gonna start measuring it out. Actually, probably what I'll do is cut off all the, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll cut off all the brackets. I've got to get rid of all these. So I'm gonna put the rear cover back on it so we don't get a whole bunch of shit in there. Yeah, and then you'll just take off your plate here. There's 4 bolts, and that'll come off. Gonna undo some brake lines here, and yeah, just start cutting. Kind of steps down right here. I didn't realize that on these rear ends. So we're gonna do our splice probably right here actually. We'll measure it out and see where it needs to be cut, and we'll go from there. What I've done is I've measured the long side, obviously, because that's where you're going to be cutting. Your 8/8 will be different, most likely, in your width, so don't go off of my measurement, take your own. Everybody measures from right here on that lip to the outside of this flange, so that's what I did. I came up with 2 7/8 difference on the long side, so that is what I'm cutting on the inside of the tape. That's pretty much it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Make sure you measure like 10 times though, because you only have really one shot. If you want to leave just a little bit extra so when you bevel that edge, you can. I'll let you decide. I did have to take this cover back off and pull the other axle out. I don't know what I was thinking, but in order to get that back plate off, you have to pull the axles. So make sure you pull both axles so you can do that, so you can get an accurate measurement on both sides. I think this side was 16 7/8. This side is 19 3/4, I think. Yeah, I think my measurements are right. Yeah, so 16 7/8, 19 3/4 gives me 2 inches and 7/8. How I'm going to cut it is I will cut the outside first, and then I will cut the inside second. I'll probably rotate this as I cut it so I can get a nice clean cut all the way around, so I'm not guessing on the back side. Don't try and run it all the way through. Make sure you spin it at least a couple times so you can get a nice cut. All right, I'm gonna cut it down, and we'll get back to you here shortly. Okay, instead of using the tape, I'm going to use these clamps, because I feel like it's giving me a more accurate measurement, and then it gives me a nice guide to where I'm not going to go over where I need to go over. So also I forgot to scribe it so we can clock this the right way. So I'm gonna just take my straight edge here and mark, and then hit those marks with my grinder, just align. So then when I go to put this piece to this piece, I have a mark to clock it the correct way for everything to work the way it should with the brakes and whatnot. So make sure to do that. And then I think using these is a good idea too, because if you measure from here to here, I'm looking at 2 7/8 is my measurement, and I can get it perfect all the way around. Tape can tend to do some weird things, and if you don't get it perfect, then it's just not right. So I'm gonna cut the outside first, then we'll cut the inside, then we'll clean them up, and then I'll show you what I'm gonna do with that angle iron right there, so we can build a little setup to make this squared up when I tack it together. Alright, that's what it's gonna look like when you're done. Definitely use those clamps, because I think I would have jacked it up if I wouldn't have used those. Yeah, so do that, and this is what you'll end up with. I am a little bit long on my material, which is fine, because then that gives me time to just square these up perfectly. This one isn't quite as perfect as this cut is, so it gives me a little bit. I have an 1/8 inch that I can work with here, so I'll bevel these edges and then square that one up, and then it should be good. And then what I'm going to do with the angle iron is I'll cut 2 pieces that are about, I don't know, 8 inches long, one for the top, one for the bottom, and I'll clamp them together, and then that'll keep me square while I tack it together. Okay, so I have cut my angle iron to the length I need. I think this is 1.5 inches. This is the largest piece of angle iron I could get at Home Depot. I had to grind some flat spots in it so my C-clamps would want to stay on. But if you can, get the C-notch steel if you have that available to you. But this is what I could do. So this is going to clamp this as square as it can possibly be, better than me eyeballing it, that's for sure. So I can put another clamp on this side and pinch it down. But for now, you can see my seam right there. So I've got it pushed up against tight. I don't have it clamped tight because I'm not ready for that yet, but I need 16 7/8. So I'm off about a 1/16 of an inch, which is good. So I need to cut a 1/16 of an inch more off, which I will get off this end because I've cleaned up this side. And I will show you how I did that and tried to get it as straight as possible so it butts up around the entire thing, so you don't have any gaps you're trying to fill. Alright, so I think I'm gonna go with this. Once I line this up, my 2 marks, that's close. Where am I? Right here. You can kind of see how I've got my little bevel going on. You can go deeper if you want. You just got to make sure you're not taking a whole lot of length off. So that's probably where I'm gonna stop. It's not super deep, but I just have to make sure I get some nice welds in there, get it nice and hot. And then when you weld it, just do section at a time. I'm just gonna tack it on each side, and then I'll get all 4 corners, or I guess not corners, it's not a square. I'll get all 4 sides, I should say, and then I'll just work my way around slowly so we don't completely warp this thing so it's nice and straight. Let's get it clamped up and measure one more time. Hopefully my measurement hasn't changed too much. So it looks like I still have some trimming to do. If I measure this, let's see, I am 1/16 off from my final needed measurement, but that's what my clamp setup's gonna look like. Yeah, I'm gonna obviously measure on all 4 sides if you can. Do as much measuring as you can. Yeah, I need to take the 1/16 off. I'm probably just gonna take it off this end because I can hold it. Okay, after about 100 times, I finally got it. Measures out exactly the same as the other side. We've got our little marks lined up there. I might adjust them a little more. I'm going to put the other clamp on here and get it nice and tight, and then check my measurement one more time on all 4 sides. All right, I am done. I just need to clean up the welds. Hopefully my welder got hot enough to penetrate deep enough into that tubing. I hope so. So yeah, I had it turned up all the way, but I can always kind of reinforce it, I guess, if I have to, once I figure out where the 4-link's going to be set up. But yeah, I just did a little bit at a time, went all the way around the circle there. And I've remeasured, my measurements have stayed the same. I think that's it, guys. Probably not gonna do any more tonight because it's a little dark out. So, hopefully that's gonna be short and sweet on how to shorten your 4-8 rear end. Just the biggest thing is measure, 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 and good luck.